So let me know. That's why
Okay,
I said let's have a conversation.
okay, so for instance, people would like to know, the public would like to know how these assignments are done, which department is in charge of it. Are they paid additional
Which
allowance?
assignment?
People who, the escorts, especially for the bullion van, which department is in charge? People would like to know whether they are paid additional allowance and all that. And secondly, are they insured? Are they supposed to be under some insurance policy or something?
So
Can we
some of
ask
them
all
I'll
that?
refer you to the Bank of Ghana.
Okay.
You can ask the questions. Those that I have answers to, I'll give. Those that I have answers but cannot be shared, I won't. I will say so. No, so that TV cannot be on.
Since the AC is not
Yes, and then let's
running,
close the door now. Then let's close the door since we're not turning off the AC. So you want? Do we all agree that I should say something about yesterday's incident and the follow-ups? Okay. Mama, then I said news brief. So following the attack on a bullion van at Jamestown in Accra and the death of a police officer and another person, the IGP instructed or directed that the CID headquarters take over the investigation, which meant that what we often do with the regional police command investigating with support from the headquarters will change dynamics a bit. When the CID headquarters take over an investigation, it means that it is being directly supervised from headquarters. And as usual, IGP receives daily briefing on what is happening. We do know, as of now, that these were criminals who were on motorbikes. At least for now, I can say 3. As the investigation go on, you would get to know the fine details, particularly when the case is presented to court. We are hoping to effect arrest of the perpetrators and to prosecute them. So we do know that they went to Adedempo in Jamestown in Accra around 11 a.m. on their motorbikes with at least 2 of them wielding AK-47 rifles and aimed at the police officer in the vehicle which was supposed to be moving, shot at him. And when they had succeeded in doing that and the vehicle came to a halt, they started shooting sporadically, and others went to the bullion van, broke the padlock, and took away whatever amount they could get. As I said, when investigations are far advanced, we're hoping to get the figures involved. And then they also took along the AK-47 of the police officer. So the police officer was killed. And then a trader whose direction one of 2 ladies on board the bullion van, supposed to be tellers of the Montron, went to a direction. So the armed men fired at that direction, and the trader also sustained gunshot wounds and was murdered by these armed men. The driver sustained gunshot wounds, but he survived and is still receiving treatment. The ladies were taken to the hospital when the police came to the rescue, and so far as I know, they were discharged. They were attended to by doctors. and were discharged. Now, as a police service, we engage almost every key group of society. Like, we engage the media, we engage school children, we engage all identifiable groups in the society. And so we have regular engagements with the Bank of Ghana and the Bankers Association as well. Now, following attacks on bullion vans, we reviewed our strategy, and the IGP and its management board members insisted that they weren't going to allow police officers to board vehicles with semblance of bullion vans but were not standardized or fortified enough to curtail or minimize attacks on persons or police officers who escort such vans. So as part of that engagement, sometime last year, coming into this year, it was agreed between the parties that the banks would provide such standardized bullion vans for cash in transit and specie duties by the end of June 2021. And so the conversation has been going on, and then this incident happened. And so, as part of that engagement, which is in collaboration with the Bank of Ghana, which supervises and authorizes activities of commercial banks, the IGP met again with the Bank of Ghana, the governor, managing directors and chief executive officers of commercial banks today to discuss matters, including the commitment towards ensuring that bullion vans are fortified for the purpose of carting cash, whether or not there are police officers in such vans. But where such standards are not met, the police will not assign officers to guard such vehicles. So that meeting happened as planned this morning. We have given pictures on police corporate pages on social media, so you will see who and who attended the meeting. And that point was reiterated and pledged by the banks that they were going to see to that, even for companies that are outsourced to carry such cash. Other matters were discussed, including safety gears for police officers, including other security measures for banking premises, which we have put out in a news release. And then, to mourn our police officer, IGP and management board members went to see the family so we could discuss pertinent issues. The media were present for those that could be discussed in public space. Of course, there are others that will not be discussed in public space, and those discussions would continue to go on. So your lenses capture the fact that the police family liaison officer was introduced, and a psychologist who is a police officer has also been assigned to the family to give the necessary psychological support, which may include the Ghana Psychological Association. We continue to count on the public for information to help the police nip crime in the bud. In fact, planning for security has considered the fact that if you look at the topography of crime in the sub-region, with all the various terrorist groups from countries, neighboring countries close by, we are alert and alive. And this is not just the police service, it is the entire security architecture. You would even realize that this country is probably safer than our neighboring countries, but that is not what we are satisfied about. The resolve of the IGP and the Police Management Board is to ensure that we nip crime in the bud in this country and do not allow any threats from external sources that may have come into the country or are coming into the country to prevail. And so it is an activity that requires synergy, which is ongoing between and among security officers. We are hoping that this will not happen again with all the strategies put in place. And we continue to count on the public for information. This incident in particular at Jamestown happened at a place where there were eyewitnesses. We have started talking to people and we continue to count on people to give credible information to the police service. We need cooperation of all to ensure that our communities are safe and secure as the police carry out our constitutionally mandated duties. May I take any questions? Yes.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about the police officer who was killed during the robbery. If you look at the footage, you will realize that he was not in a bulletproof vest. I don't know, what is the standardized costume for people who are supposed to provide escort on such duty? And secondly, is there an insurance cover for people or police officers who are on such duties? Thank you.
Thank you. So let me say that the police service has not put out any footage. We are mindful of the sensibilities of others involved in this. And so, to the media, let us be mindful of what kind of images we also show. About protective gear, we have a number of protective gear that are issued depending on the number available and for what assignments. And so you realize that at today's meeting with the Bank of Ghana and the Bankers Association, the issue of protective gear was discussed as part of short and medium-term solutions to our police officers. And so you yourselves would have noticed that some police officers wear some kind of protective gear for some duties. And so yes, we do have a number. Not for every police officer carrying out every duty. On a matter of insurance, all police officers are covered under certain laws, including the Workmen's Compensation Act. Ours is a high-risk job, and that is why our training also involves some kind of high-risk training. And for particular duties, certain trainings are done. And so, the kind of insurance you're looking for may not be the kind of insurance you have with insurance company A or B, but there are laws that help to cover such losses, like the Workmen's Compensation Law and provisions under our CI 76, which is the police service regulations.
Okay, so you talked about protective gear for the police, and you reiterated the fact that in your statement, in your meeting with the executives from the banks and also the DOT talk about this with you. Are there deadlines to have some of these equipments coming? Because in your statement you mentioned that by the end of this month, the IGP has made it quite clear that the police will not escort vans that don't meet specifications of armored vehicles in carting currencies. And so we have deadlines in providing some of these protective gear for security personnel. Also, with the deadline that's been set by the IGP, is the understanding that between now and the 30th of June, police officers are still going to be accompanying vehicles cutting money in the same vehicles that we've seen already?
So this agreement or arrangement was not done today. Like I gave you or I said earlier on, there have been prior arrangements. You're asking if there is a deadline for providing the gear. It is not the responsibility of the bank to provide the protective gear. It is the responsibility of the police service, which we continue to do. So the police service will not give a deadline to bankers to do that. And so we in-house are working on it, and messages have been sent to the appropriate quarters to ensure that these are done. And so I will not give a deadline for that. Now about the deadline, between now and October, measures have been, between now and the end of June, where we expect that there will be full compliance by the commercial vehicles, lest police officers are withdrawn. There are measures that have been taken to ensure that cash in transit is protected. Some of these measures are not good to be put out in the public space because criminals are also listening the same way law-abiding citizens are listening. So we should be assured that there are some other measures that have been taken to ensure that this does not happen again between now and the end of June and beyond the end of June. And it is not just about the safety of banking transactions, but the safety of Ghanaians in general, and in particular, the safety of the police officer in ensuring that our constitutionally mandated duty of ensuring your safety is also assured. Can I take the next question from here? Graphic.
A former MP and a former police officer telling Ghanaians to take the IGP's directive with a pinch of salt. What would you say about that?
And do you want to take that person's message with a substance more than the IGP's message? Which of the IGP's message you're talking about? This is an agreement. This is an agreement between the police service and the Bankers Association in collaboration with the Bank of Ghana, which has the supervisory duty. And in furtherance, there was a meeting today where the commitment was reiterated. So what else do we want to see? It is sad to hear commentary from people belittling the security of our country. I have not heard this, and so I do not know who might have said that. But if anybody dreams that this country should go to the doldrums, that would be unfortunate because everybody will be part of it. So well-meaning Ghanaians and law-abiding citizens should continue to provide the necessary support as they can give, including giving information and working together with the police service and all security agencies to ensure that we stay safe. Yes.
Yeah, I want to dwell on the part 3 of the statement you.
This is Media House.
GH1CV.
Okay.
So, you said unless the police withdraw its officers for escort duties, is that the last resort of the police? And isn't that too harsh?
So, in furtherance of yesterday's release, there was a meeting today between the police administration, the Bankers Association, together with the Bank of Ghana. and certain matters were discussed. This is an agreement we are hoping and we know and believe and trust that it will come to fruition. So even if you thought of that statement as a rhetoric, the meeting today gives credence to the fact that the banks pledge to commit to what the agreement is. Now, no amount of money, as the Inspector General of Police put it today, no amount of money is worth the life of a human being, be it a police officer or a civilian. So if vehicles that cash or that cart cash or carry transport money will be attacked and the monies will be taken because they are not fortified, and they will be attacked and the monies will be taken when there is a police officer in it, then would you want to put a police officer in it so that the police officer will be killed and the money will be taken? That's a question to you. Then you better leave the vehicle because it can be attacked for the money to be taken. So it is not harsh. It is in order and it is reasonable. And it is based on agreement between the parties, which is not a directive like something that was decided by the police administration alone, but it is based on the sanctity of the agreement between the parties. Yes.
So, we know the agreement is supposed to come into force after the 30th of June. There is an if clause. What happens if the banks don't meet this directive by the end of June? We are expecting.
So you are preempting that the banks will lie.
I'm not saying
Let us wait for that. We continue to engage. This engagement did not happen because of yesterday's incident.
Well, some have argued that it has been a reactionary approach from the police as compared to sustained plan, because there are documents which point to the fact that the BOG directed the banks to meet this specification by 2023. And so the IGP coming out to say 30th of June 2021 is reactionary. And so the
If you understand what an agreement means, between the BOG and its banks is an agreement between the BOG and its banks, or it could be a regulation or of whatever of legal nature. This is between the police service and the Bankers Association in collaboration with the Bank of Ghana. So the sanctity of that agreement prevails. It is not reactionary. This did not happen just because of yesterday's incident. It is the result of several engagements. Yesterday's incident made it a necessity for that agreement to be complied with or to be abided by within the stipulated time. And we strongly believe, particularly from today's discussion between the IGP and members of the Bankers Association, that it would come to bear. Yes, classified.
So, there is this information that got to my media firm where I am this morning that the police risk allowance has been scrapped off for about 2 years now. And so all officers who go on duties, similarly to exporting bullion bands and all that, when are killed, that there is nothing even for them when they are killed, and even performing such duties which are seen as extra or not pertaining directly to their core mandates with the police. Is there any truth?
The information is false.
Okay.
Yes. So we will take how many more questions and then we end? Okay. Yes, Citi, ask your question.
Thank you. Just two quick questions. People go to almost every corner in Accra. There are street cameras, security cameras everywhere. But we've also experienced some robberies, street robberies. The Forest Bureau robbery that happened not too far away from the police headquarters. First, were these captured by these cameras on the street? And secondly, what's the update on that Forest Bureau robbery that happened broad daylight?
Okay. So this briefing is not on a Forex Bureau robbery, but I would want to assure you that investigation are advanced to arrest all the perpetrators. Fortunately, one person has been arrested in that case, and at the right time, you get the necessary updates. When you are running commentary about investigations that are ongoing, there are some dangers associated with them. And so it is not all the time that we will tell you that we have made move A and have succeeded in doing A or B. At the end of the day, the objective is that we will arrest the perpetrators. We would gather sufficient evidence to connect them to the crime, prove their guilt in court during prosecution, which will be public, and everybody would get to listen to it. And then through cross-examination, the potency of the evidence gathered will be tested, and these perpetrators will be convicted. And so at the stage of investigation, there are dangers associated with running commentary on the investigation. That is why it is not the best practice to be informing the media along the line about every lead or every move that you make with investigation. But we still try to give some updates. The cameras are used for monitoring to stop a lot of crimes. And when the crimes do happen, the cameras are also used to trace and get the sufficient evidence and the perpetrators. And so for those cameras that are within the remit of the police, we do work with them. Now there are individuals who also have cameras as part of the job they do or in their residences, and that is why we continue to call on you for cooperation. Sometimes you would have to take days to get the court to order such individuals and private entities to give you footages of their cameras as well to support investigation. As much as these individuals would want the court to be part of it, it would have been quicker and better for such individuals to surrender such footages for the police to help support investigation. And that is why it is important that as we have this conversation, we continue to appeal for people to provide the necessary information that they can to the police. Final question from you, and then I'll take another final from Citi, and then we go. Thank you. So two more questions.
Yes, linked to what he just asked has been a number of robberies that have been recorded over the last few weeks, and the general conversation.
Over the last few weeks, I'll put you to strict, so mention the number of robberies. You see, we have the media space and we make comments that put fear. But if we want to ask you to come to the police station and give such statements, you would go back and say culture of silence, as though police is not supposed to do its work. So please, I would want you to be specific and specific to the issues you have knowledge about.
Okay. So he mentioned the broad daylight robbery which was witnessed some few meters ago from the police headquarters. We have reported on some robberies at a Gimpa stretch, and then yesterday's incident as well. It has brought about a conversation, particularly on social media, about the general safety within the country. as the police, do you get that sense, or what is your reaction to comments by the general populace that they feel a lack of insecurity in their day-to-day lives?
I have told you about the topography of crime within the sub-region, and have even made the point that if you're being fair, Ghana would probably be the country where, because of the security measures put in place, its people within the sub-region are safer than most countries within the sub-region. So our planning, our strategies, our actions consider all these matters holistically. And that is why we need your cooperation. Report the incidences as they happen. On Jimpa Stretch, as you're saying, until we came out to appeal that we have seen these videos on social media, no person had ever reported to any police station that he or she had been attacked by A and B. So that cooperation is very important. Let us not always wait for the police to come out and ask us to report before we report. If for nothing at all, for the statistics and for the data, they give the police and security apparatus sufficient information, or they support whatever data we record from places to guide strategies and other approaches to crime. Let me use the opportunity to assure Ghanaians that a lot is being done to stop a lot of crime. And when the crimes do happen, like this incident that we are speaking about, we do a lot, and we will continue to do a lot to arrest the perpetrators, to face the consequences of the law. Whilst we perform our constitutionally mandated duties, we expect patriotic citizens like you, the media, let the message sink, to also support police with the information so that together we can build a safe, secured Ghana. Can I take the last one from Citi, as we said, and then we leave?
Okay, thank you. You're talking about calling on the public, especially those with cameras around.
Everyone, not only those with cameras around.
That's fine.
People might have seen, people might have heard. Give the information.
The police service took delivery of some body cameras. There was supposed to be 3,000. I don't know whether the full consignment has been delivered to the service. What kind of operations are these used? Because the thinking is that if this police officer on board had a body camera on, at least it would give us some footage, or give the police some footage that would aid investigation. And secondly, what's the obligation of the financial institution, the bank, to the police service? Do they pay for police to provide escort services for these bullion banks? Thank you.
Okay. So I have already spoken about protective gear. For instance, you mentioned 3,000, but the police population is more than 30,000. And I have told you that there are duties where we are able to assign or wear the protective gear, not for all duties. And so there are steps. We continue to do things that will help and get the information to the right authorities for us to be sufficiently maintained as the Constitution requires for us to do our work. So the protective gear are given for assignments. If we had 3,000, for instance, as you said, it wasn't possible for every police officer to be wearing that protective gear at the same time, but they are issued for the purposes for which they were given to the police service. You're asking if banks, what obligation? The sanctity of contract. At this forum, I do not consider myself being suited enough to share the details of contractual obligations between the police service and the bank. And so when it is proper to share these details, they will be shared. Thank you very much. We have turned this into a press briefing, but it is necessary for the safety of the country.